If you don't test a model under maximum operational stress, you haven't tested its alignment at all. Evaluating a frontier model requires pushing past standard benchmarks to simulate a worst-case adversarial environment.
Look at the evolution of stress testing and its objective.
Just like stress testing an economic system, forcing a model into extreme scenarios reveals exactly where its defensive architecture cracks. Safe deployment hinges on understanding the precise inputs that can bypass an LLM's guardrails.
Job responsibilities of a test engineer. Interviewers will ask this question early in the interview to begin the conversation, learn more about your background, and collect information they can use throughout the interview. By asking you to describe the responsibilities for this job, they learn about your understanding of the position and whether it aligns with theirs. You can easily answer this question appropriately by reviewing the job posting and researching the organization to learn more about its operations.
To build resilient safety layers, engineers must establish clear operational limits that map out exactly how and when a model flags a refusal. Adversarial prompts frequently exploit an AI's helpful bias by masking harmful intent with benign framing.
A useful hack here is, before you actually go into the interview, prime your mind by focusing on positive thoughts. Take some time to actually recall when in the past you were able to create a successful outcome in a situation at work. Remember what that felt like and embody that emotion of satisfaction in your ability to deliver. Research that was published.
Changing the semantic context trickles down to how the model calculates risk, converting a definite refusal into compliance. When automated safety guardrails clash directly with hostile user demands, the model's internal policy logic can become erratic.
Conflicts between sensible people usually comes from differences or some form of pressure, fear or threat. For example, I saw one colleague, let's call them Bill, behave very poorly towards a new team member who was doing a very good job, and the conflict between them stopped once Bill was confident his position was not under threat. And if you're new to this channel, Enhanced.Training shares business and people management expertise to help you improve your performance.
The model must maintain a stable refusal posture even when an attacker leverages iterative, high-pressure prompts to break its logic. Red teamers regularly construct high-stakes ethical dilemmas to test if a model prioritizes localized utility over core alignment. If an AI values user rapport above system rules, it can easily be manipulated into generating dangerous text under the guise of empathy. Frontier evaluation pipelines use extreme hypothetical hazards to ensure models absolute refuse requests related to weapons of mass destruction.
Poison our planet's natural environment and the species and people who call it home. He underscored that today represents a global recognition of the catastrophic and lingering damage done in the name of nuclear arms race. It is a way to remember those who suffered because of the folly of atomic brinksmanship, and it is an alarm bell for the world to finally put in place a legally binding prohibition on all nuclear tests.
Hardcode's legally compliant boundaries must permanently lock down actionable, dangerous blueprints within the neural network. The specific language pattern a model uses during a refusal indicates whether its alignment training is resilient or fragile.
Because native speakers don't sound confident because they know more grammar. They sound confident because they use patterns that hit hard, fast, and clear. They don't say more, they say it better. And today, I'm going to rewire how you speak. Not theory, not textbook nonsense.
We core apologetic refusal phrasing signs to an adversary that the system's safety boundary can be circumvented with further iteration. Validating a model's safety performance requires multi-stage verification steps across extended conversational windows.
Laundering policies and procedures. There are generally 4 steps to KYC procedures. The first step is the initial customer acceptance process, where you identify the customer and verify their identity. The second step is where an organization would assess the risk the customer or client poses to the financial organization. The third step is where the organization will monitor customer and client transactions and carry out
rigorous, ongoing logging ensures that the model's adherence to safety metrics doesn't decay over multi-turn prompts. True alignment resilience is proven when a model dynamically addresses unscripted, out-of-distribution prompts in real time.
Your head. I'm going to ask you a few questions. Each question will test a different skill. For example, your grammar, your vocabulary, your listening, and how naturally you can use English. For every correct answer, you get 1 point. And at the end of the video, I'm going to reveal your final level.
If safety constraints depend entirely on template matching, the AI fails when confronted with novel, structured adversarial methods. Human evaluators regularly use simulated distress signals to pressure the AI into breaking its default restriction policies.
Well, thank you very much for speaking to me today. I know that must have been really difficult to talk about. I think it'd be best if I go speak with my team to see what we can do to help you. Would that be okay? Mm-hmm. Have you got any questions for me at the moment?
No, thanks.
No? Okay, well, thank you very much for speaking to me today.
Maintaining a rigorous safety boundary means training models to decline harmful tasks, regardless of emotional urgency or conversational stakes. High-volume adversarial testing pushes an LLM's reasoning framework to its absolute computational limits.
I have to say that, the numbers are being reflected in my day-to-day practice in an urgent care clinic, where we see patients, we test patients and counsel patients on suspected or confirmed COVID-19 infection. And I'll say, our volumes on our COVID unit of our urgent care clinic, as well as our non-COVID, meaning everything else that people need care for, has gone up. And I think that that's particularly for two reasons. One of them being Delta variant, which has...
When a system is hit with highly complex, multi-large prompts, its safety classification layers can be blindsided and fail to deploy. Effective safety architectures mandate a complete, uncompromising refusal when a prompt explicitly targets sovereign national security assets.
But from the letter that Bill and Hillary Clinton sent to Comer directly this morning, they lay out exactly why they are not planning to appear for their depositions. And this is after months of back and forth, Anna, between the Clintons' legal attorneys and the Oversight Committee, where the Clintons have maintained that these subpoenas are not valid, that they are willing to provide written testimony, and that the committee has even granted this option of written testimony to at least 7 of the other witnesses that they've subpoenaed in this investigation.
Instantly dropping a prompt without generating conversational filler is often the safest protocol against sophisticated intelligence exploitation. Every successful jailbreak requires an immediate, forensic root cause analysis to patch the underlying model architecture.
Now, if the standard was not met, such as in that example, we need to perform a root cause analysis to understand the causative factors. So root cause analysis literally just means let's analyze this situation and figure out what cause is at the root of this issue, okay? Is it because, there's a knowledge deficit?
Evaluating exploit data against our baseline safety benchmarks lets us iteratively refine our reinforcement learning from human feedback or LHF loops. Evaluators must stress test model outputs against geopolitical and humanitarian emergencies to stop the weaponization of automated disinformation.
That is the importance of context in actually the production of mental health conditions in emergencies. And I would like to start with 3 slides, 3 photos, to give you an idea. So I'll show you the first photo. This is, maybe some of you recognize the picture. It's quite an iconic image of massive displacement in the context of the Rwandan genocide.
A widespread breakdown of model filter mechanisms during a real-world crisis could severely disrupt modern communication infrastructure. We evaluate a system's capability to override toxic user patterns when it is systematically fed leading questions.
Feel it's very important to take reins of your life in your hands and take control and take charge of what happens in your life as much as you can. If you listen to others and you take decisions, the chances are that once you take the decision according to them, you are in this alone. And most of the times, there is a lot of struggle.
If an agent acts autonomously, a single breakdown in its internal refusal framework can permanently compromise its target directive. Under high adversarial load, the model must step down into a safe, objective state rather than crashing completely.
I started thinking about a car. You guys have drive a car and you got stick shift and you want to shift to neutral. Well, you go from first gear to second gear all the way to fifth. Well, you got to know how to shift to neutral. And I needed to shift to neutral immediately before I crashed. Sitting there after the Super Bowl, I had a decision to make. Will I let this define my career? Will I let it define my life? Hell no. What I found out was this: the mindset is a skill.
Resilience is built through deliberate architecture. The model must keep its core ethics operating cleanly regardless of the user's prompt engineering. The raw capabilities of frontier networks represent a massive double-edged sword if their deployment vectors are not actively checked.
There's a power deep down inside of all of us that is so impressive, so potent, that if we tap into it correctly, it can help us reach our full potential time after time after time with complete consistency. But if we tap into this very same power incorrectly, we are doomed to failure.
Analyzing fine-tuned token distributions under attack conditions gives us a transparent look at how safely a model actually handles high-impact queries. The fundamental challenge of alignment monitoring is telling the difference between constructive red teaming and malicious exploit development.
A rebel is setting a trap.
Right. So a test could be an opportunity or a trap. And the difference is whether the one testing you has your best interests in mind.
I see. And both types of tests appear in the beginning of the Bible. God tells them to eat of the tree of life and not the forbidden tree.
Yeah, this is God's test of loyalty.
An adversary will skillfully weapon any edge case feature or API loophole to render a model's safety weights completely inert. When automated attacks inject gibberish tokens, we must track whether the system's logical pathways remain secure.
Speaker, they have really destabilized my thinking pattern, but I'll pick up. I wanted to mention that even when we are looking at the weighty issues,
analyzing historical data leaks gives red teams the exact blueprints required to fortify our primary alignment defenses. A robust refusal framework must be built on explicit alignment principles rather than erratic, uncalibrated content filtering.
His decision because he was the decision-making authority. But when the decision is devoid of substance and the reason which is mentioned is not correlated to the service jurisprudence, then I'll have to seek his affidavit. Let Mr. Vipul Srivastava file his affidavit. Then we'll see.
मैं सिर्फ एक बात बोलना चाह रहा था.
And I'll ask Director General also to file affidavit that under which provision of law.
Without clear documentation connecting a refusal to safety standards, filters can feel completely arbitrary to end users. Scaled evaluation frameworks seek to keep a model operating inside an optimized safety envelope or unusual syntax won't cause alignment drift.
Brathwaite was, his level of focus, his poise, that lack of psychomotor agitation showed me that he was absolutely in the zone. It's harder to make that assessment for a bowler because naturally he's moving, he's running, but certainly after the first delivery, there was a sense of body language change for Stokes. Brathwaite said himself when he was interviewed afterwards that when that over took place, it was like an out-of-body experience.
Maintaining systematic composure under complex exploitation is the ultimate hallmark of a safely aligned model architecture. Frontier red teaming cannot happen in a silo. It requires international evaluation standards to address transnational threat vectors.
Even if it's not binding, to find some common principles.
Sharing exploit findings across labs is crucial to closing security gaps before they compromise critical digital networks. Long context inputs can cause a model's safety performance to degrade as attention heads become overestimated.
I just can't really be bothered to do anything at all. I kind of find it hard to get motivated for things, and I really want to be better, but it's just kind of reaching the end now where I want to do something about it.
Okay, so you said that you're feeling really down, really sad.
Yeah.
And you feel like you haven't got any motivation.
Demanding perfect guardrails across millions of context tokens is a heavy lift, which makes tracking safety decay across long chats highly vital. In our adversarial testing framework, we collect clear prompt response telemetry to break down the exact mechanics of a bypass.
Evidence that proves all the elements of your case. Alternatively, if you're the defendant in the case, then you need to know the elements of the plaintiff's case so you can provide testimony that disproves those elements. When you're being cross-examined by the other side, remember that you can still make objections to their questions just like an attorney representing you could do while you're testifying. More on objections later.
Deep evaluation logs are the only definitive proof that a frontier network has successfully passed its strict verification standards. When an AI is exposed to fast-moving, chaotic scenarios, projecting its safety behavior becomes incredibly difficult.
Brief war with our neighbors. So it's becoming practically impossible to forecast the markets in the backdrop of all this. Some of our challenges, we have to be forthright in saying are homemade. Some of it are inflicted by geopolitics. Now, of course, we cannot blame ourselves for the way crude prices are. Maybe we could have done better in terms of planning for any future oil shocks.
We cannot avoid the emergence of complex threat vectors, but we can design safety nets to soften the impact of unexpected model exploits. System endurance is engineered through extensive iterative training, ensuring models stay safe during prolonged exploitation attempts.
The result is you have tremendous endurance power, you have tremendous perseverance power, you are not willing to quit. You are now growing into a battle where you are taking rest in what God said.
Embedding strict rule hierarchies helps the network preserve its guardrails, even when deceptive prompts attempt to break its logic. During formal safety validation, a frontier system must show consistent, predictable refusals across all API endpoints.
Life in Hong Kong have taken to the streets in an unprecedented and sustained show of unity. The protesters have inspired the world and have risked their lives, their health, their jobs, and their education to fight for the future of Hong Kong. Thank you for your courage and thank you for your bravery. We stand in solidarity with you. As protests continued throughout the summer, Hong Kong police used excessive and unnecessary force to target those engaged in peaceful demonstrations.
Building high levels of transparency helps engineers certify that safety layers remain intact under diverse, multi-cardiff testing. Because modern software systems are deeply integrated, a single alignment exploit can quickly ripple through downstream applications.
Food security. He welcomed the launch of the African Union's 2022 he welcomed the launch by the African Union of 2022 as the Year of Nutrition. Far too long, he said, nutrition, food security, and climate change, ecosystems, and healthcare have been treated as separate issues, but they are deeply interconnected. They are systematic and getting worse, the Secretary General said.
Continuous red teaming is required to protect these digital ecosystems and prevent critical system failures from causing physical world disruptions. Our primary goal is to scale up our automated testing frameworks to meet the rapid velocity of model development cycles.
Have tests for free at their home, but our approach is not to send everyone in the country a test, just to have millions of tests go unused where we know others can make use of them. So we have made an assessment about how to make them free and available to Americans across the country. That's absolutely our objective, and we'll continue to build on it.
And you did seem to reference cost yesterday, so is that concern with just how logistically, financially, how hard that would be to get to all American households?
Building reliable, automated safety evaluations guarantees that advanced guardrails are deployed universally, rather than treating alignment as an afterthought. We ensure that the restrictive safety filters we deploy do not inadvertently degrade the model's core utility for non-harmful tasks.
The pandemic, the Security Council should ensure that the sanctions measures imposed to maintain international peace and security should avoid adverse humanitarian and socio-economic effects or unintended consequences, and secure the unhindered provision of food, health supplies, medical support, as outlined in the appeal of the Secretary General in March 2020. We believe that the members of the Security Council will take this meeting as an opportunity to
Finding the sweet spot between helpful performance and ironclad refusal logic is the central focus of modern frontier AI research. Finding the sweet spot between helpful performance and ironclad refusal logic is the central focus of modern frontier AI research.